Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Justin. I hope you're doing well today. So for every degree that I got, I've made a video on this channel kind of walking through my transcript and my experience in all of those courses. The last video that I ended up posting was for my bachelor's, and now I have my master's. Similar to the other ones, I actually started this journey in a completely different path and then kind of pivoted, which I think is important to do in life. If things aren't fitting, then change them. So in this video, I'm going to walk through all the courses that I took alongside talk about the specific areas that I focused in for my master's, and then talk a little bit about my capstone project that I did at the end. So yeah, let's get into it. So I enrolled in my master's program in the summer of 2023, which is pretty much the immediate semester after my bachelor's. So for me, when I was finishing my bachelor's, I felt like I wasn't really done with school yet, and I knew I wanted to get a master's degree. At that time, I was working as a software engineer, and so I kind of knew that I wanted to continue walking down the tech path, but I wanted to expand out a little bit. When I finished my bachelor's, my project specifically was a immersive game, basically, that was targeted to teach children conditional statements. So it was like an education game. And I found a lot of interest in that, but I wasn't fully ready to make the pivot just yet. So I applied for a master's in information technology, and I also applied for an advanced certificate in instructional design. An advanced certificate basically is just like the middle ground between you getting a bachelor's and a master's. It's usually like a one-year addition. But since my information technology program offered electives, then I was like, well, I pretty much can take them as the little extra courses for this certificate, and I'll just have to add on two towards it. So I get accepted and I start courses that summer. The courses that I were signed up for was accessible design and assistive technology and advanced internet application development. The accessible design course was more on the education side, but I was really curious about what this course had to offer. Having a background also in human computer interaction and information design, I was really wanting to focus further in accessible design alongside understand how that applied to education. So this course, while it could have been done better, it actually allowed me to kind of think about technologies, and specifically web-based technologies, that often skip the mark when being ADA compliant, for example. The advanced internet app course, that was a bit of a letdown. Like I said, I already worked as a web developer for, at that point, it was 3 years, and web technologies was really my specialty, so I was hoping to go into this master's and really expand my knowledge onto that, but instead, this advanced internet app development course turned out to just be pretty much an introductory course to web development, where I was literally just relearning HTML, CSS, and I think JavaScript towards the end, but nothing of it was challenging. It was not advanced by any means. So I finished my first semester with an A across the board, and from there, decided to make the pivot to change my master's to educational technology. Because that app course was so simple, I kind of felt like I wasn't going to get as much out of a master's of information technology as I was hoping for, and so I figured if I'm still going to walk this route of going a master's, then I really want to start focusing on things that are of interest to me and things that will tack onto the skill sets that I already have, not just kind of make me relearn them or maybe slightly strengthen them, which is something that I felt like I could do on the outside. So masters are usually 2 years. My goal was to complete this program in 1 year because I wanted to go teach abroad after the year, which is also kind of why I made the pivot to educational technology, because I was like, well, I want to teach abroad, so having a background in education would really help that application process. So to do that, I ended up taking 4 courses this semester, which full-time for a master's program is 9 instead of 12. So this is above full-time. I took instructional design for online learning, issues and ethics for the digital age, digital game simulations and learning, and then digital media arts and technologies. Half of these courses I was really happy with. The other half, not so much. Issues and ethics was a great course, aside from the professor being pretty absent throughout. Once again, and I said this in my past video, I love talking about ethics. I think analyzing them is extremely important. So now taking this perspective on not only technology, which I had a previous course for in the past, but also education, and now that mixed area of educational technologies, fascinating. Had a lot of fun with it, just wish the professor was there more. Digital games, simulations, and learning also was really fun. I love being able to take game courses. They always force me to kind of push myself just a little bit further than I was before, not by the course's structure or the course's design, but just because I personally use it as an opportunity to do such. In this course, we essentially had to build 3 different games. You had to pretty much prototype out the game that you wanted to make digitally, which had to have educational merit to it. So as I started to focus in language learning because of my goal of going and teaching abroad at the end of the year, I made a game that was basically a cafe simulator where I used the textbook that I had for learning Korean at that time, and I took one of the chapters and then I built a game for reinforcement learning where you basically worked as the barista and customers would come in and order using the vocabulary in that textbook, and then you would have to make their order. And I actually had a lot of fun with this. I used Unity, I made the pixel art myself, and then I was having a lot of fun just building the game system behind it. I thought that was really cool. After that, we had to build an AR or VR application. And so I built a VR prototype of a game where basically you would go around and find like the letters of the alphabet and you'd have to match them to like the upper or lowercase version of them. It was a super simple prototype, but it was actually really fun finally getting hands-on with VR, which had been my goal for a really long time. Not as much anymore. I feel like VR is kind of gone, but was still fun, was really cool to build an environment and then literally be able to like step inside it. That was awesome. Digital Media Arts and Technology. I was so excited for this course. I actually almost took this course in my bachelor's. This course sucked. I was so disappointed. So I get into the course and there's like 3 things inside of it. And pretty much the entire thing was like, you will build a digital media arts project. Go for it. And I was like, what? I was like, bro, I do this all the time, or I could do this without spending the money on this course. What am I doing this for? I was really disappointed, but I was still committed and I wanted to see it through. So I ended up building this project where I took this platform called Isadora. It's like a live projection software for like stage design. It kind of does more than that too. My goal was to make basically a mini art installation. So I took like a piece of paper and I cut up a bunch of little like shapes and stuff and put them together to like form a screen. And then I used Isadora to projection map basically in this little square on the walls and also all the little slots of the screen. And then I rendered out footage from Unity to like create this narrative of basically like the fact that technology shows us all these really horrible things and we kind of just get so desensitized to it, and it isn't until like we are forced to turn off from it because it kind of just has that control on us that we can like even think again. Like that was kind of the overarching goal. Don't know if it was completely accomplished, but at least still a project came from it and at least I finished it. So finished this course. And then my favorite one, instructional design for online learning. The structure of this was incredible. The professor that I had for this, incredible, really interesting. This was probably my first experience with an actual course based in true education and learning sciences and theories of learning that I was in. Oh my gosh, I was nerding out so hard. We talked about all these cool theories of just how people learn, the differences between like base theories of like behaviorism and constructivism and how that applies to like actually designing learning that can be online. That was so cool. Within this course, we had to build a virtual professional development. For my group, we got to cover emerging technologies, and that was super cool. So the module I designed pretty much took them from theory to application. And I taught the rest of the class how they could use an online platform to create simple AR interaction with like markers basically. So once again, I used my textbook that I had previously for the other course and this one. And I had it to where you could open up the textbook and with your phone scan one of the pictures that they showed, and then it would play a video on top of that that would explain kind of what they were talking about in that chapter. So yeah, getting not only that like really theoretical and practical knowledge, but then being able to turn it to application. I had a lot of fun in this course, and it definitely helped me get through some of the other downsides of the rest of the semester. I also finished this semester with an A. In spring, I also took 4 courses, but I did drop one. We'll get into it. One of the first courses I took is Learning with Emerging Technology, which is literally the first course of the program, and I don't know how I got around not taking this at the beginning of the program. But this course was actually really important. Who would have thought? It was extremely foundational. It covered a bunch of learning theories as well. It really talked about psychology and how we intrinsically are able to learn and what that means and the best ways to learn. And it also went over like the differences between like pedagogy and andragogy and how we are differentiating between children learners and adult-based learners. And yeah, it was really fascinating. But just once again, I got to like the end of the course and I only had feedback on like my first discussion. It's a 15-week course. That first discussion was doing the first one. A little disappointing. Another course I took, Media Literacies and Emerging Technologies. Love this course. Media literacy is such a cool concept to discuss. It really is. It's fascinating when you're breaking down how we're interpreting information and how different pieces of media really affect our understanding or convey different pieces of information to a large audience and how it can help to strengthen things or transform them, or evaluating all the media that we have around us and information, everything. It built upon my previous courses of HCI and information design beautifully, and I had so much fun in this course. The only thing with this semester was I was abroad at the time, so I was working on some of this stuff while also trying to enjoy a trip that I wanted to go on since I was a child. So you could imagine I was pretty split, but still love this course. It was so much fun. I got to do, I believe it was a pechakucha at the end. I'm pretty sure. And I also believe I got to do blog posts for this course. And that was like a main element. And that was really cool too. I then took Emerging Media and the Arts, which this course I actually pretty much designed myself because the original structure of it, I did not like. It was similar to the other arts course I took where you were just doing another project. And I was like, no, I'm looking to understand the theories of teaching art, the theories of how people learn art, how you include all the forms of art in courses. Like if you have a painter and a drawer and you have like a 3D person who is working on animation or they're working on games, how do you make sure that everyone is kept at the table when you're designing courses for the arts? Those were the pieces. And again, alongside that, I was really focused in second language acquisition throughout my entire master's. So I wanted to figure out how all these pieces could come together. And pretty much for this course, it turned into like a meta experience almost, because I was designing the course that I was taking to learn to design courses. That actually was really helpful. That kind of practical experience was actually something that even my mentor looked at and she was like, no, yeah, this is actually really cool. Like this is like a complete 360 benefit. It's very synergistic. So we worked on it together and I had a lot of fun designing this course. And from this, I created 3 projects. I built a masterclass in using emerging media technologies to create projects, basically. I also built upon my work in the previous course and I created a live rendered concert backdrop that could be used for musical performances using that same projection software and Unity. And then the last piece of it was pretty much setting up additional research and literature review for my capstone project at the end, and then finding the technologies I wanted to use for it, which inevitably turned out to be a web application. Okay, now it's time to talk about the course that I dropped. I was really excited for this course actually, which is usually how it happens. If I get disappointed by a course, then I get really sad about it and then I don't want to do it. This course was basically supposed to be surrounding data-driven learning. And to preface, I kind of caught this master's program at actually a really awkward time. It transitioned from being an old program to a new program where they were completely shifting the structures of what people focused on and what kind of emerging technologies actually were now being used in education. So I do give a little bit of grace in the sense that this course was the old version and was not covering things that were modern. With that being said, I'm very happy that I took the initiative to not still stay in the course, because that is not my fault from the university side, and it should have been set up a little different. But my biggest red flag in this course was that I wanted to go into it and really understand how we use data in education and what proper assessment was and how that data could be used to really transformatively assess, is the instruction that I'm giving working? There was all these things that I was really hoping to get out of it that included learning mathematical models and getting hands-on with data analysis software, not what was provided at all in this. Instead, I was given a textbook that was really, really old, and we started going over standardized testing, which in all the previous courses that I had for this program told me standardized testing was no, bad, not good. So I was like, hello, just me? What's going on? And I dropped it. Short and simple, that's it. Because the next semester was my final semester. It was an express term, 8 weeks in the summer of 2024, and I retook this course alongside my capstone. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw out there, this summer was crazy. Building a whole capstone project and then also writing up your defense thesis almost surrounding it and giving a presentation on the topic in 8 weeks, quite the challenge, especially when you are extra as heck. So to talk about the data-driven course real quick, much better. Had a great time in this one. It more so focused on actually workplace training. So it was really cool to get the experience of understanding corporate training and kind of apply those theories of adult education into that, and then also understand how we can use the data from those experiences to help us in that position basically. And my capstone, what did I do for my capstone? So throughout my program, like I said, I focused on second language acquisition, digital media, games for learning, software engineering, and then also on top of that, I focused on digital identity and community. So the idea that I had was to build an extensible web platform that pretty much was tailored for second language acquisition, online specifically for adult learners. The platform that I built incorporated a lot of different theories, which pretty much had it to where learners first were given basically the standard context that we're all given when learning languages of here's some vocabulary, or here's how the language works in structure, or here's how it breaks down into its grammatical component. But to this, the learner then was also engaged throughout this by playing small games or having little small points of interaction or discussing together using the new language. From this, learners were then taken into pretty much a simulation where they would be kind of seeing this story play out in front of them and could interact with these characters using the new language that they learned. There was a lot of research that could have been done on this, and there was a lot more that I wish I had time to do, but I'm really impressed at how it kind of came together and how thorough that work became within the time frame that I had. And I really miss working on things like this. So that's kind of why also I feel like I'm not done with education just yet. I'm still fascinated by the learning sciences, still fascinated and still love the creativity of technology, and I just want to do more. So yeah, that was a run through of my master's in educational technology. And overall, I graduated with a 4.0 and I'm very proud of that. So yeah, I hope this video was very helpful. If you have any questions, of course, you can feel free to leave a comment down below. And I thank you guys so much for your time for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next one, and be well. Bye-bye, guys.